to fill some big shoes. And what good is excuses when the fucking Bristol? Smoking all that Sindo. Run away from my pain, rosemary on my temples. Heard that's good for migraines. Solo in my benzo. Exit off the highway. Solitary thoughts like how to reinvest my side check.
I'm tryna go down as a grave. Every night I get on my knees and pray. I will go down. I will go down.
All right, you guys, welcome back to the Let Me Speak podcast. We are in episode 12. Thank you guys for tuning back in and listening. Today I have a very special guest with me. We've been trying to get him on forever. We trying to make this work, but we finally got it. Who we got in the building today?
My name is Terayle, and I'm happy to be here. How you doing?
I'm doing
Terayle
good.
Hill.
I'm so happy you finally got here. I appreciate you so much.
I'm happy to be here. I'm very happy to be here.
It's been what? How many months we've been trying to get you on here?
It's gotta
been
be
a minute, huh?
It's had to be like 5 or 6 months of trying to get this thing together.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, so anyway, for those of you who are just turning in for the first time, the Let Me Speak podcast is a podcast dedicated to allowing, Black hip hop artists to speak their voice on things that affect us, the Black community. We need more of these rappers. We need more of these Nipsey Hustles, like we just heard. We need more of them out here in the streets.
Yeah.
Just trying to stay, get away from the stereotype that all rappers and they are ignorant and don't know anything. You know what I mean? Just because you're a Black man and you rap, you don't know anything but selling drugs and gangbanging.
Yeah, that's
which
really
we know
thing.
it's not true. So, Terayle, go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself and where can we follow you at?
Yeah, of course. So my name is Terayle Hill. I work in television and film. Primarily, that's what people know me for, but I also work behind the scenes in the music industry. I'm going to start releasing more of my own projects in 2020, and I'm really excited about that, of course. But as it stands, people know me from my work in television and film, working behind the scenes as a director, as a writer. I went to Clark Atlanta University, graduated in 2016.
Okay.
So yeah, like I said, just stepping more into the executive side of things now. And it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun.
Okay. Yeah, I've been seeing you. You're doing your thing.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Okay, so let's just jump into it. Now, you said you went to Clark Atlanta.
I did.
Now, I want to ask you, I'm sure you've heard about the young Black girl who, her roommate and her roommate's boyfriend.
Yeah.
I just want to get your thoughts on that. She was a young Black girl in college, and I do feel like we are taking ourselves out. Yeah. Whether it's Black on Black crime within men or even the women, we're killing ourselves, and so just how did you feel about that?
Well, first off, my extreme condolences to I believe her name was Alexis Crawford. I believe that was her name. My extreme condolences to her. Prayers go out to her family, her friends, her loved ones, because it's the holiday season and it's a new decade approaching, and unfortunately she won't be able to take part and manifest whatever her purpose was into the world. I have my own thoughts on how our community tears our community apart. I feel like there's a system in place that does a good job at that for us, but we participate in it and justify our participation a lot of times. Because I don't know all the details of the case, I'm a little apprehensive on talking about whatever I specifically feel happened, but I will tell you that it's nothing short of disappointing. It's unfortunate. That's senseless. My alma mater, and it's not the first thing that's happened. There was a shooting on the promenade too during like Olive Branch or something like that too. Like Clark Atlanta, they're going through a couple things. Yeah. My prayer though is that what it is the community deals with in-house, like whatever matters take place within the family. In theory, outside sources are just watching us behave a certain way, and my prayer is that we put ourselves in a position to alleviate whatever self-hatred or negativity that we have against ourselves and each other.
It's definitely
so
there.
We can move in unison into the decade. We got a lot of potential to mobilize. We can really move forward and get a lot of things done, and there's power in unison.
Yes.
You know what I mean? I feel like 2 people working together is a lot better than 100 people who are not working together in the same group. Unison is more powerful than the numbers, so if we have unison and the numbers, we're really unstoppable. So again, prayers to the family, of course, but we got to work as a community to
you definitely do
to rehab our own community.
Stop turning each other down.
Exactly.
Yeah. So speaking on Atlanta, you know, there's been a lot of sex trafficking in Atlanta. It makes me terrified, you know, especially being a woman. My grandmother lives in Georgia, so I'm out there often, and just that fear that at any time I could be, you know, caught off guard and somebody's, you know, kidnapping me. So how do you feel about that?
Well, I mean,
sex trafficking.
Me personally, I've always viewed myself as very protective. I grew up around a lot of women, especially, so it's made me very cautious about how I handle just people I keep around in Atlanta. I don't really hang out with too many people, but if you are close to me, I'm definitely not allowing you to Uber from an event if we can drive you somewhere or drop you off. So I guess the best advice and feedback for anybody who may be worried about anything sex trafficking related, I would just encourage the men who are willing and able to, like when we were in college, escort girls to their dorms, like escort the people where they got to go, like whatever malicious intention you may have personally with whoever it is you're escorting aside, and think about the benefit of them. Get them to the doorstep, drive them to where they need to be. And it's not like I'm anti-Uber or Lyft or anything like that. I'm just saying at certain hours you shouldn't be sending somebody away in a stranger's car. It just doesn't make a whole lot of sense.
I completely agree. You know,
I try to do my part with that though. Like I try to make sure I get people where they gotta go.
It's crazy to me just to see like what the world has come to. You know, this is what we got to worry about. Jumping onto another topic, I want to ask you, you're a black man, and how do you feel, and you said that, you know, you're, you know, do some acting and trying to get into music. How do you feel that the black man is portrayed within media, whether it's, you know, music or TV, movies? How do you feel that the black man is portrayed?
Are we speaking generally, like how people perceive us, or how we perceive ourselves to the world? Like how we come off, how we intentionally show ourselves and present ourselves? Are we talking about how we present ourselves or how people perceive us? I apologize. I had to find the question while talking.
No. I don't apologize. I like that question.
I mean, it's a distinct difference.
Let's go first with how people
perceive us.
Yes. Like I said, like, you know, especially within like movies and TV.
I think we're entering into an age where there are more people of color stepping into the creative space where they have a little bit more control over the perception. I think propaganda and perception is controlled systematically. I think we talked about a little bit of that earlier. It's when I go in there for an audition, if they get a glimpse of these tattoos, it's a little easier to place me as a thug, no matter what the significance of the tattoos are.
And that's what I was
before they
at.
even know I have tattoos. They just act, and then it's like, oh, thug. And it's like, I'm a college graduate.
And that's what I was trying to get at. You know,
like we feel like, I think there's a stigma behind certain taboos that live in the black culture. For example, who was it? I think it was D-Ray Davis. He had a comedy special that I kind of refreshed my mind on like a couple nights ago. And he was talking about policing our own communities because someone walking through the wild isn't afraid of lines if they're used to the lines. And me and my cousins, we yell at each other and clown each other, and we get up an octave with each other, but we'll never put hands on each other. We just talk like that. And someone from the outside communities may not understand how we communicate, and if they're responsible for policing us, their perception of us can get us killed nowadays. I know even nowadays, traditionally in history, it can get us killed. And I guess just doing a better job at debunking a lot of the stereotypes and putting ourselves in positions to where we are not being what's the best way to put it, putting ourselves in a position where we don't have to I don't even have the best answer for it. It's really hard. It's a touchy topic because obviously there's a second half of that too, because there's a certain level of accountability. D.L. Hughley wrote this satirical book. It's not very satirical. It's actually pretty factual. He wrote this book called How to Not Get Shot and Other Advice from White People. And the book is great. But one book talks about do not look the description. And he refers to if you are a tall black man and you decide to wear certain clothing or you're putting yourself in situations where you may be subject to certain attention. And as much as I don't necessarily believe the stigma of letting someone's perception of you, put yourself in some kind of position. And I know he was more so jokingly poking fun at it. I know in the real life space, if I walk into certain environments and I have on certain clothes, I have to understand there's an accountability factor that someone's going to look at me this way if I pull up like this. I have tattoos, quarter sleeves, my entire chest, entire shoulders, entire back. And a lot of times I'm coming from the gym. And if I go from the gym to the grocery store, the security's looking a little different at me than if I was coming from the meeting at the gathering spot on North Side. You know what I'm saying?
And I feel like it shouldn't be that way just because,
It shouldn't. And you gotta know who your audience is. You gotta know what you're working with. This is the cards that was dealt. I didn't ask to be black. I didn't ask for a lot of stuff, but I'm black. This is how I look. I chose the tattoos, but for the most part, people don't even know I have them. So this is just my presentation. I chose these clothes. I know I'm wearing all black, and I know if I walk around in certain neighborhoods, people may be looking at me. I know what I'm also doing in those neighborhoods, and I know a lot of times I'm invited to those neighborhoods. I ain't trying to, cause no disruption. But I got to just understand, like, that's the ignorance that surrounds me at this point. And working with what I know, it's smarter to just avoid certain situations. I don't put myself in situations to get caught up. Me personally. Yeah. So I take into account my audience. I know where I'm going a lot of times. I know my surroundings. And I know if I'm wearing certain things that I'm just subject to certain attention. And I can accept that knowing that it was a choice that I made. But certain places, I know I got to clean it up. I can't move a certain way. It's just the tax of being black. It's just a tax of being a black man. Yeah. It's something I got to consider, a little extra.
And speaking on, like you said, depending on where you at, you got to move a little different.
Yeah, move different.
How do you feel about, like, I was reading something and I forgot what I read it on, but it was basically like blacks and Hispanics feel like they have to change the way they talk amongst other races.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like, me personally, I don't feel like I have to change how I speak. I think there's a certain language. I think there's choice words.
Yes, choice words.
I can swap out, here and there.
Of course.
I'm not gonna refer to certain people a certain way. You dig what I'm saying?
I feel you.
I've in the last week I've been in environments with creatives where I can speak freely. I can say whatever I want, do whatever I want, ingest whatever I want, drink, smoke whatever I want, talk about whatever I want. And that's a vastly different space than when I was in the meetings I was in at the end of the week, where I'm pulling up to someone's residence or a place of business or an office or a studio of sorts, and I'm speaking about paperwork and deals with people who don't operate in the same space as me. If you want to maneuver these worlds, you have to understand how they work and whether or not you can camouflage, fit in. And it's just a part of the game. It's just a part of the game. I understand where I'm at. I know where I have to go. I know I have to move. I know that I can fit in most environments depending on what I'm wearing. And it's that simple. But what I choose to come out of my mouth is what is more important. I have to make sure I articulate myself a certain way when I have a position where I have a position to impact change. Like, even if I'm speaking here on this radio station, or if I'm talking to somebody who doesn't speak my language, I got to be able to work with them and what they got, because I know probably between me and this businessman from a different community, he might not be fluent in what I speak, but I know how to speak what he speaks, and I can choose to just tap over. I don't have to be the me that woke up when I woke up.
I feel you. Yeah, no, I feel you. So what do you say to people who say, like, oh, well, you just putting up a front for because you're around white people or something like that,